The Phil Mickelson bomb. In February 2022, Phil Mickelson gave an interview that detonated like a bomb in the golf world. Lefty, one of the most beloved players in the game, called the PGA Tour a dictatorship and admitted he was working with a Saudi-backed rival league despite calling the Saudis scary and acknowledging their human rights record. The interview was stunning in its honesty and horrifying in its implications. Mickelson disappeared from golf for months after the backlash. Sponsors dropped him. Fellow players condemned him. But the damage was done. If Phil Mickelson, winner of 6 majors and one of golf's biggest stars, was willing to burn bridges with the PGA Tour, something major was about to happen. The LIV Golf launch. On June 9, 2022, LIV Golf held its first tournament at the Centurion Club outside London. The format was bizarre by traditional golf standards. 54 holes instead of 72, shotgun starts, team competitions with DJ-selected walkout music, and no cut. But none of that mattered compared to the money. LIV was offering guaranteed contracts worth tens of millions, sometimes hundreds of millions of dollars. Dustin Johnson reportedly received $125 million just to join. Brooks Koepka got over $100 million. Phil Mickelson's deal was rumored at $200 million. For context, Tiger Woods earned about $120 million in official PGA Tour prize money over his entire career. LIV was offering that kind of money to players who had never won a major. The exodus began immediately. Sergio Garcia, one of Europe's most decorated players, jumped ship. So did Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, and Graham McDowell. Bryson DeChambeau, the mad scientist of golf known for his speed training and physics-based approach, signed on. Henrik Stenson gave up his Ryder Cup captaincy to join. Even major champions like Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson, guys at the peak of their careers, couldn't resist the guaranteed money. The PGA Tour's response. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan didn't waste time. Any player who competed in a live event without a conflicting event release was immediately suspended from the PGA Tour. This wasn't a warning or a temporary ban. Players who jumped to LIV were out, potentially forever. The tour also announced massive changes to keep its remaining stars happy. Prize purses increased dramatically. The Player Impact Program, which rewarded the most popular and influential players, expanded to $100 million. New elevated events with limited fields and bigger purses were created. Monahan was essentially admitting that LIV's criticism had merit. The tour's top players were underpaid compared to their value. But the changes came with a cost. Smaller tournaments saw reduced fields. Up-and-coming players had fewer opportunities. The tour that once prided itself on meritocracy, where anybody with a hot putter could win, was becoming more exclusive and top-heavy. The moral argument. From the beginning, LIV Golf faced accusations of sports washing. The Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, which bankrolled LIV to the tune of billions, was essentially the Saudi government's investment arm. Players who joined LIV had various responses. Some claimed they were growing the game globally. Others said they were independent contractors, free to work wherever they wanted. Phil Mickelson gave a bizarre interview where he acknowledged Saudi Arabia's horrible record on human rights, but claimed working with them could create leverage over the PGA Tour. The moral gymnastics were exhausting to watch. Meanwhile, players who stayed with the PGA Tour positioned themselves as the good guys. Rory McIlroy became the de facto spokesman for tour loyalty, repeatedly defending the PGA Tour's structure and criticizing LIV defectors. Tiger Woods turned down an offer reported to be between $700 million and $1 billion to stay loyal to the tour. Their stance was clear. Some things matter more than money. The legal battle. In August 2022, 11 LIV players filed an antitrust lawsuit against the PGA Tour, claiming the suspensions were anti-competitive and monopolistic. The lawsuit argued that the tour was using its power to squash competition and prevent players from earning a living. The PGA Tour countersued, and discovery began. Internal documents were subpoenaed. Depositions were scheduled. The golf world was about to get very ugly in court. Players who had once been friends were now legal adversaries. Phil Mickelson, who started all this, eventually dropped out of the lawsuit. The legal battle dragged on for months with no clear winner in sight. The shocking merger announcement. On June 6, 2023, the golf world woke up to news that seemed impossible. The PGA Tour and LIV Golf were merging. After a year of bitter rivalry, legal warfare, and moral grandstanding, Jay Monahan and Yasser Al-Rumayyan, governor of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, announced they were forming a new commercial entity that would combine the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, and LIV Golf. The announcement blindsided everyone. Rory McIlroy, who had spent a year defending the tour and criticizing LIV, found out the same way fans did, through news reports. Tiger Woods was reportedly kept in the dark. Players who had turned down hundreds of millions to stay loyal to the PGA Tour felt betrayed. Players who jumped to LIV and endured public criticism felt vindicated. Jay Monahan's press conference was painful to watch. How could he justify partnering with the same Saudi money he'd called a threat to golf's integrity? His answer was corporate speak about coming together and the best future for golf. Translation: LIV had unlimited money, and the PGA Tour couldn't compete financially. If you can't beat them, join them. The fallout, the merger, or framework agreement as it was technically called, created chaos. The details were vague. How would tournaments work? Would LIV's 54-hole format continue? Would suspended players be reinstated? Would players who stayed loyal to the tour receive compensation? Nobody knew. Congressional hearings were scheduled. Lawmakers from both parties questioned how much influence Saudi Arabia would have over American golf. The Department of Justice launched an investigation into potential antitrust violations. Players were divided. Some LIV players wanted immediate reinstatement to PGA Tour events. Tour loyalists wanted LIV players to face consequences, or at least apply for reinstatement like anyone else. The Ryder Cup, golf's most prestigious team event, became complicated. Could LIV players qualify? Should they be allowed to represent their countries? What changed forever? The LIV PGA war changed professional golf in ways that can't be undone. Prize money exploded across the board. The PGA Tour now operates with designated events that guarantee appearance fees to top players, something once considered taboo. The idea that players should grind every week to earn their keep has been replaced by guaranteed money for stars. The moral high ground disappeared. The PGA Tour partnered with the same Saudi money it had condemned. Players who stayed loyal felt foolish. Players who jumped to LIV were proven right. Eventually, money wins. Golf's image as a gentleman's game with strong principles took a massive hit. Tournament fields became fractured. Even with the framework agreement, full reunification remained uncertain. Some of the game's biggest stars were playing different schedules and rarely competing against each other. Fans who wanted to see the best versus the best were left disappointed. The player empowerment era. Perhaps most significantly, players realized their power. For decades, the PGA Tour held all the leverage. Players needed the tour far more than the tour needed any individual player. LIV changed that calculation. Now players know they have options, that their value can be monetized differently, and that loyalty isn't always rewarded. Young players coming up now have a completely different perspective. They watched as guys like Brooks Koepka and Dustin Johnson secured generational wealth without the decade-long grind their predecessors endured. They saw the PGA Tour forced to change its entire structure to compete. The message was clear: leverage matters more than loyalty. The uncertain future. As of now, the framework agreement hasn't been finalized. Negotiations continue. The Department of Justice investigation looms. Congressional scrutiny intensifies. Nobody knows exactly what professional golf will look like in 5 years. What's certain is that golf will never return to the way it was. The PGA Tour's monopoly is broken. Saudi Arabia's public investment fund is a major player in golf's future, whether people like it or not. Players have more power and guaranteed money than ever before. The sport that prided itself on tradition and meritocracy has embraced guaranteed contracts and limited fields. LIV Golf versus the PGA Tour wasn't just a business dispute. It was a civil war that divided the sport, forced difficult moral questions, and ultimately changed professional golf forever. Some players got rich, some got vindicated, some got betrayed. But everyone in golf, from superstars to weekend hackers, will live with the consequences for decades to come. When billions of dollars and national interest collide with a century of tradition, something has to give. In golf's case, almost everything did.